get to a point where they seem to just give up, then something really starts to happen, yes? And it's a weird thing. It's something, this is a type of knowledge that if you want to know it, it's not going to be available. Yeah. But when you give up and see that which wants to know it isn't you, that's the real knowledge. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Why would you want to know what you already are? Literally. You would have to start with being what you're not, because the only way what you are could be attractive to what you are is if it took it to be what you're not. Yes. So what you're not is looking for what you are. One of the things you see when this lands, or however you want to say it, is you lose interest in looking for what you are. Yeah, because you now have a whack of an understanding that you are what you're looking for. So the first real indication is you stop looking, literally. So I remember it happened with me, and people would call me up and said, "Man, you missed a great teacher this week." And I said, "Oh, great, great." Did you sign up for the next retreat? No, I didn't. I don't think you'll be seeing me anymore. It didn't happen with a vow because I'll always fail a vow, because that which vows something is powerless. It doesn't have any stickum. It's just weak. Yeah. But when there's a convinced, you'll see results. Yeah. What gets affected won't see the results, but there'll be a seeing of the results, because what the results are going to be in what's looking for the results. Yeah. You're going to see a result about this. Yeah. Which is going to, it could come to a crashing halt, literally, the seeking. Yeah. And then if the seeking stops, you see the emperor with no clothes, really. Yeah. The seeking is like the clothes of the emperor. It uses the seeking to clothe itself. And so basically, when the idea of the seeker and the sought gets compressed into the seeker is the sought, yes, then the emperor has no clothes in a way. Because once the seeking isn't there to disguise it, you see it naked, yes? And then every time it wears another suit or another outfit, you still know it's naked. Yeah, that's the coolness of it. And what may not think it's naked isn't you. You become clear about this. Yes. Your action figure is going to try to mimic and reproduce and get along with things. When things start changing, it doesn't actually change. It just tries to fit itself around it. Yeah. So it's going to be saying, it's the one that saw this and the one that did this. You got to recognize the two movements, because if you ever read that Faith Mind, the Zen thing, you know, there's some very simple statements in it. One of them is you can't use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity. Yes? Yeah. So we have the problem in recovery, which is that which is playing God hears you got to quit playing God. So it tries to quit playing God. That's playing God. Similar. Yeah. So a similar thing. You can't use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity. And so what do you see? You see the activity of you, not you doing activities. You see you're an activity. You see the activity of Greg and Paul and Ali, instead of Ali trying to use activity to go somewhere. You see Ali is an activity to begin with. Yeah. And therefore we're using activity to try to produce or find stillness, and that's just activity. You see it? You can't get around this. These are hiccups right before the meal. Yeah, right. They are. And this is the beauty of it, because what's seeing it is before the hiccup. Yes. So, and let's say we know what time feels like. So then people will call it no time, just to get a not being that. Yeah. So who knows what no time would be like, really? There would be no time to know it. Yes. So basically, we use no time just to sort of make a contrast with time because we're familiar with something called time. Yes. If when you're doing something you like, it goes quick. When you're doing something you don't like, it drags. Yeah. It basically mimics or performs, or the way it dances is the way you're dancing. Yeah. So sometimes you want to, it's going fast. Sometimes, yeah, it seems to be dragging on because you really don't want to do what you're doing. Yeah. So it's sort of like it tries to keep up with us, but it's like a dance partner. Yeah. Time. So no time is not that, let's just say.
Yeah.
So in no time, you can see everything that comes after because that's truly the before. Yeah. And there's something that has been uh, masquerading as a before, which is you, the long-lasting, independent, separate entity called the you. Yeah. That believes that it's the alpha and the omega. Everything stops here and starts here. Yes. But basically, that's an after. But it has implied or assumed or suggested that it's the before. And if it is the before, it cannot know the before. It would be like when you're in there's a thing that happens in alcoholism, which is called blackouts. Yeah. It happens to many people. If you haven't had the experience of it, well, but people who have had the experience of it, you're doing something, maybe you're drinking quite a lot or whatever, and there's the act, and then there's the interpretation of the act, and then suddenly it stops, or somehow that's the last thing you remember. Yeah, and then a day later, or 8 hours later, or 2 days later, or 3 days later, it seems like it starts up again. Yeah, and then there's you again. Sort of like takes a breath, and then you're you. And now you can't remember anything that happened the 3 days. And so, like some people would travel quite a lot, and you would wonder why, if you stopped or you weren't there, you would have just stopped and been like, a vertical coffin type thing and frozen. But you've been having sex with people, your mother and you have had a long conversation, you've gone to work, you bought plane tickets. Yeah. So there wasn't really an absence of Paul. There was an absence of a Paul. Up, Paul. Yeah. So the familiar idea of you got overwhelmed by the alcohol and shut down. And just like uh, there was a substitute quickly showed up, another Paul, another idea of you. And then it did your business, and everyone that met you met that Paul. Yeah. All that, and you went on and on and on, and then its reign, Reign, is short-lived, but the old Paul seems to show up, and then it has to black out all the time the other Paul was conducting the affairs of the action figure. Because if it doesn't, its whole story is out the window, because its whole story is you are a long-lasting, independent, separate thing, and there's only one Paul, when in fact there can be many Pauls.
Right.
Yeah. So when one Paul gets disabled by excessive drug use, another one shows up. It's not a one. It's like this. The app has backup. Yeah.
Right.
So there's Paul with a memory and bank and and a storyline, and it loops, and you're refeeling and rethinking and rehashing everything all day, thinking you're in the present moment when you're not. Then something hits that side of the cassette or something, knocks it out. Another one now runs. Yeah. And then but when the other one seems to regroup, it wants to take over. And for it to take over, it has to completely forget the reign of Paul II when the King Paul I shows up. So it's calls it a blackout. It's really wild. Yeah. And when you come out of a blackout, it's like you're uh, parachuting behind enemy lines. You have no idea what's going on, but there was no missing any beat. It wasn't like Paul, then suddenly like the Matrix when the cat went by, there was a pause for Paul. No, Paul has been going continuously the whole time, yet there was a battle between, the son of Paul one, and then so yeah, and so it has to black out a history of 3 days. Seriously, you cannot get it. What happened? It's almost like that memory is closed, that 3 day period. There's no access to it for you, for the other you. It just shuts it down, and there you go, Paul. Now, I've noticed because I went in a lot of blackouts and came out, the substitute Paul did better with me than the other Paul. So if I would have had a choice, I would have hired the substitute Paul and kicked out the other Paul. But this contract is very one-sided. It's like that roommate that's not going to leave. If you try to kick it out, it just remember that thing with Seinfeld once? He was, George, you ever see Seinfeld? George, he was going out with a woman and he tried to break up with her and he couldn't because she kept saying, he says, I'm never going to see you again. We going to dinner tonight? So every time he tried to break up, she just wouldn't let it happen. This is sort of the callousness of the Paul. So if there's two of you, there's none of you. You get that, yeah. If the story of one Paul gets disputed by another Paul, there's just the story of Paul. There's no Paul. Yeah. Yeah. So just I love that movie Moon because they do that. See, the dilemma with this is when you get a hit on it, it's so quick it makes up the you that got the hit on it. So there's getting a hit on it, and then it claims that very quickly, and then it's you just got the hit about you. Right. And of course, if you gets a hit about you, it ain't going to share the honesty about you because there isn't one. Yeah. Right. So it's so fast, but some inside in all of us, we know there's a knowing because we all are of the same ofness, yeah, of beforeness. So if one can see it, anyone can see it because we're not seers, we're seeing. Yes. Yeah. So we are the mother, father verb of all verbs. Yeah. So this is why it can trigger. It can like it said, there's a thing in Buddha would say it was beautiful. One candle can light millions of other candles and will not be diminished as a candle. Yes? So the one candle's on, that it can be used to light millions of others and it won't diminish the candle. Yeah? Yeah. So in a way, satsang is there's a triggering or a space of that ofness triggering, and then we may seem to think we're in a lot of different times and spaces and time zones as this and that, but what we are hasn't gone anywhere, and that trigger can match it, the vibration, so to speak, and then there's like a aha or a sense of something, and that's not knowledge, that's knowing. I feel there's a knowing that doesn't have to become knowledge. It's enough the knowing. Yeah. So if there's a little bit of certainty, it triggers certainty in the room. Yeah. Yeah. So every one of us plays that role of a candle, and we can be used to light up zillions of candles, and it doesn't diminish our candle, so to speak. Yes. So here we are just trying to trigger, not trying anything really, just talking, and then something is using the talking to do something else. And just like when I heard satsang, not the first time, but very shortly thereafter, I had a feeling that this was knowing before knowledge. No one told me that. I hadn't heard it in satsang, but it just felt that way, yeah? And then I felt like an unspoken yes, unspoken, but it keep reverberating. This is sort of what I feel like knowing and being is. It's constantly reverberating. Now you can open the door and see it, but you're not causing it. Yes. So it's always reverberating, always. And you can fall upon and fall into the, like, on a window platform and see it, but it doesn't, that's not the moment it started. There was never a moment it started. It's just reverberating, reverberating. It's always been, always will. So it's a constant reverberation, and then you saw it for a second, yeah? And the knowing and that seeing is quite convincing. So you will feel like you're already in the tiger's mouth, or like Nisargadatta supposedly just heard his teacher and had faith in the teacher and in what the teacher was saying, and that was more than enough. It just sort of became clear. So the convincing doesn't work on the surface level, obviously, because I could be convinced and unconvinced in 10 minutes, yes? But the convincing is of another space, and that I feel is the space of knowing and the space of being, yeah? Yeah. And we just come here every week just to just feel ourselves the reverberation, and hopefully that reverberation will transmit to other, and there'll be reverberation, yeah, like this, yeah, yeah, and then you walk out feeling different or better and stuff like that, and then you seem to want to come back, and then people come back to satsang. It's almost like it's just like being reverber, what they're doing with the toothbrushes, they put in vibration or whatever in there. And when it vibrates the gum, it seems to feel better. It makes it feel more alive. Do it like this. Well, this is sort of a similar thing. There's a constant reverberation. If someone's feeling it and touches the other, they'll feel it and it can go. Yes. So it's not like, it's not Shakti or anything, because then that's already been given a name, but it's a transmission that doesn't have a transmitter. It's just there. You feel the vibration. That vibration goes, and then you feel the vibration, and on and on. And then you get, let's say, almost like a tuning fork. You get sort of a line for it. Not you, as this. This is like a skin of something to protect it in this world. It has nothing to do with finding what you are. Yeah. So what you are, reverberate, reverberate, reverberate. Yeah. And then, you know, you come back a couple times a week, once a month. Some people are like an asteroid. They come back every 5 years, and then they reverberate, and it's so familiar. It just, they're on it again, and then the surface condition, which is always chaotic, is not defining the underlying condition. The underlying condition is, it doesn't do anything. It just outshines the surface conditions. Yeah. It doesn't change the surface conditions, though if they change, that can happen, but that's not the intent. It outshines a condition. So for us, with consciousness being in contact, we're believing the surface starts first, and that we need to learn how to dive into the depth, but actually the depth is what's first. And then the chaotic stuff comes after. So we're seemingly starting from here, trying to go to the depth, when we're actually in the depth, noticing this. You're conscious of the agitation. That doesn't mean you're the agitation.
Right.
And that which is agitated tells you, like a sensor in your car, you're having a rough ride, but you're not having a rough ride. It's having a rough ride. So it is talking completely like a surface vehicle, and it doesn't like this all-terrain action, and it's going ba, 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 ba. But the underlying overriding this is what brings you the traveling lighter. Yes. Yeah. It's not that you find a slicker way to move through the world. You just you're not of the world in a way. And it just seems to work. And because, like some cars, I remember there was this weird slick BMW commercial. They had a European guy, suave guy with a suit on, very nice hairdo, very, you know, cool accent, and he would go, "The new 2021 BMW is virtually self-tuning." And the way you hear it is like you're not going to have to get a tune-up. But no, virtually self-tuning doesn't mean shit. It's just a funny way of saying something, and you're going to have to pay $2,000 for a BMW tune-up. But if you were casually listening, you would come to a conclusion that you're going to be very disappointed about. Because you're gonna call up the BMW mechanic after you bought it and say, "Oh, so I can do my old oil change, but I don't need any tune-up." Well, yeah, you do. No, it said it's a almost virtually self-tuning. Yeah, you're virtually almost fucking, Michael Jordan or something, but you're not. So it's a trip. When you listen to stuff, the mental logic, the way it hears something and where it looks tells a lot about it. You'll realize it's a failed system. It is. It just looks like the wrong way. And that faith that has been in intelligence and all this stuff, which can be very useful at times, but faith to an extreme point doesn't work, especially if it's part of a failed system. And what Course in Miracles says, and I truly believe it, is, the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. This you should know. Basically, he's pointing out that this is quite important so that you stop thinking it could do something else. It has an objective already, which is the brain's objective is to see everything and pertain it to the body. Yeah. Yeah, that should cause you a little suspicion from the get-go. Yeah. And yet, though, the insanity is we believe we can change that or it'll change, but it won't. That's its imperative. That's what happened for the guys in the movie 2001. Hal had another mission given to him by a supreme person, and none of the astronauts knew it. And then they did know it after when it was getting applied, when they getting shut out of the spaceship because Hal was following its imperative and wasn't getting bent by any plea or anything like that. And this is sort of the program of this event is a program. It's not A and I don't think so. I don't, if it can grow, it's minuscule. And there's certain things. One, a lot of people in recovery have earned this one, which is self can't get out of self, but it doesn't think so. So self can't get out of self, but that can only be held out of self because self can't get out of self. It just doesn't get it. It just keeps trying over and over and over again. And whatever fails, it doesn't fail. So the vehicles fail, it just finds another vehicle. If vehicles don't work, it will do it on foot. If on foot doesn't work, it will swim. It's just not going to get it. So this is so beautiful because it's telling you, it's just shouting out at you that it's failed. Yeah. Just as if you haven't heard the horse you've been riding murmur in years because it's dead. Yes, it died a while ago, and you're wondering why. And you don't seem to be going anywhere, but you just bought it a new saddle. So, yeah, I find this or interesting. There's a lot of different curly cues with the non-duality understanding that really trigger unrest in the mental logic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mental logic doesn't know what to do with it.
No.
Yeah, because it's actually going against its whole logic. Like Huang Po, the great Zen master, said, whatever can be perceived cannot be that which is perceiving. The head believes the body is what's perceived, and it is what's perceiving. It believes the body is an object and the subject. And actually, the object first, and then the object is subjectively experienced stuff. This is what non-two is negating, is that. Yeah. So that logic, you want to try to turn it around. I thought it was pointless. You will constantly if you keep thinking it's you. But when you see it's not you, you're going to lose interest in it. And you're going to learn a lot by leaving it alone and not tinkering with the failedness of it. Just let it express itself and there'll be a movement away from it. Not you are not going to move away from it because the you is attached. It's how far can something project an image? It's not that far. So the system projects the image of the body, then one's not breaking away from the other. Yeah. So failure system, in a way, failure body. Not failure of the body like a heart attack, but failure of the body uh, being assigned to be like a chariot of the gods, because it ain't. Right. Yes. Yeah. So, and the system cannot project the self. Actually, it doesn't project the self at all. It convinces us because it was there and it will be there that it's here now. Yes. Yeah. Selfing does not project the self. We project the self listening to selfing. Yeah. Selfing can only selfing. It can't do shit. It can't make anything up, literally. It just implies that it's already made up. See, that's the trick. We wake up as a historical thing, but we wake up as a no thing. Right. But when the system kicks in, first the no thing wakes up, then the system kicks in, and now we're a historical thing. And then the no thing is forgotten, or it becomes a topic of great interest. And so that's the drive of spiritual seeking. You want to find the no thing as a thing when you are a no thing already. Yeah. Yeah. So you just sit, do nothing, and a lot gets revealed. And then the revelation is just good to pass on. You know, it's not something you debate or you hold classes in or anything. I think it's something you share. Yeah. You can share because it hopefully the words have a sense of that reverberation in them. To me, satsang is that. Satsang, oh, is words with reverberation. There's some vibration in the word or on the word of using the word to get somewhere. So I like the word today, reverberation. So because the verbing is constantly going on, and then here it's reverbing, reverb. Yes, yes, yeah. Seemingly in time. So yeah. Yeah. So we pass it on, pass it on. I've been amazed at it really, because I had ideas about Zoom and they were just ideas. And then Zoom can transmit the same thing I thought only, I like live more, but it's still what's in that reverberation will use anything it wants to reverberate. It could be Zoom, as we've known. A lot of people here, I've watched their physical facial structure change without any plastic surgery. Yeah, without any, doing smile, whatever exercises. Just by listening, there's been a relief and a permission to be okay with the relief. You don't have to earn it or own it or, yeah, you could just say, yeah, it's wonderful. I've seen a lot of people and their facial structure has changed. I bet you their intestinal structure got looser too, and the sphincter got looser. Yes, for sure. So, yeah. So if anyone has anything they like to say, if not, I'll go back to the spirit, our spiritual writings, yeah, which is a one-page thing. Yes. See, everyone's afraid of that again. Yeah. Yes.
Well, Steve seemed to have a question a little bit ago, and now Eric in Vista has his hand up. Do you want to take these questions?
Let me think. No. Yes, don't worry. I'm joking. Yes.
Did you wanna, hold on. Okay, where's Steve? Where'd he go?
This hasn't really worked for me. Yes, Steve, come on in. You're in already, actually.
Hey Paul, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, so something that you said earlier kind of hit home with me. You kind of talked about satsang, and just kind of a community with this reverberation. Um,
Reverberation.
yeah, I think that's one of the reasons, a lot of people come to things like this. Um, I like that you said, when I first started doing Zooms, I felt I think maybe similar to you in that it wasn't the same as face to face. I hated Zoom meetings, but everything at work and COVID and kind of all brought this Zoom up in our face. And then after a while, I was like, I'd rather do Zoom than go to places because the convenience of it.
Yes.
But one thing that you said very early on, which I was kind of interested in, was the synchronicity. I feel like when somebody starts to join this path, the things just kind of open up and gateways just open for you, and you run into the people that you need to run into, or you run into the books that you need to run into. What are your thoughts about synchronicity?
Yes, I can feel that. And that in a way, if you take the personal interest in it, everything is like synchronicity. We just like certain directions of synchronicity more than others. So then we emphasize, oh, that was synchronicity. I got my way, or whatever. Or yeah, but yeah, I feel somebody, Jed, our friend from a while, he's been here a while, was talking about Gurdjieff, a guy from Turkey or something, and he was talking about the idea of if instead of praying you obey, then providence lines up with you and you start feeling like things are flowing in a nice direction. And I see it constantly in recovery. There are so many people that they actually started with nothing, and everything that's involved in their life has been touched by AA in one level or another. It's mind-boggling. Tons of times. So I mean tons of times. Nothing. They had absolutely nothing when they came in. And now, whatever tree or however something grew and went its way, the root was recovery. It's amazing. It was. Yeah. So, yes, I think you could, in a sense, this is an awkward way the action figure can feel like it's synchronized or it's in alignment or it's balanced when things are going like this. It's having a lot of intuition, ahas, uh, that hunch that maybe I shouldn't do that, and then you don't do it, and it seems to have been a wise thing. So all these things, it's almost like something's tickling the action figure to sort of get something it can never get. Yeah. So it's thoughts, but maybe I think the action figure has certain levels of quality or ceilings, and to me, gratitude's one of them, and honoring and or AWE. So to see an action figure reach those heights is amazing to me. Yeah. And I remember I shared it a couple months or weeks ago. I went, when I was young, I heard about this guy, Sai Baba. Yeah, he had a big afro and did a lot of miracles and things. And when I got a little bit, at one point, I was sober, like when at a certain age, and I could do certain things that I couldn't do when I was running around. And I decided to go to India and go to his ashram by myself, and I did. And I saw him about a month, and what was the word did I go with that one? I'm at Sai Baba's right now. Oh, yes. And so every day he'd walk twice a day through this. There was like over 10,000 people there. It was like an open air amphitheater, really beautiful. Everyone takes their shoes off, goes in, and there's like well-worn like streets he would take to walk through. So I would get there early and sit on the curb of these little paved ways he'd go. And when he would come by, I'd be here, he would stop and look at the other people on the other side. And the glory of their faces in devotion was unbelievable. Just blew my mind. It's the most beautiful devotion is pulls out the most beauty out of an action figure, I felt. Yeah, these faces were just and I was more into that than when he was looking at our way. Yeah, I would just watch the people when he stopped and looked at them. It was just amazing. Yeah. Why would you want to just give it to a person or yeah, it would be nice to have that sort of devotion to the moment that you're in. It was really glorious. So I feel the reverberation, because it reverberates in time, has different effects on different things. And the action figure, I feel the grandest effects it has on that is gratitude and awe and honor. Yes.
Surrender too is a big thing.
Surrender, of course. Yes, surrender. And surrendered. Surrendered, yes. So is that it? No, but here it says best the reverberation can do here. So yes, if you're reverberating a 1983 Toyota truck, it's gonna shake a lot still. Yes. Yeah. So yeah. So yes, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel in this world when it seems so chaotic, and then you see an alignment underneath it all, or whatever. Uh, you're not listening to the old GPS at that point, because the old GPS as the guide will always have you look at things. Yeah, when that is broken, you see other things. Yes. Yeah. You're not in a guided tour anymore, or whoever is guiding the tour has changed. Yeah. Yeah. So what's pointed out isn't a grievance of 30 years ago and that motherfucker did this. Other things are pointed out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, not to toot your horn or anything, but I really enjoy your satsangs here online just because you're so open and very authentic and very easy to talk to, and it makes it a lot easier. And just really appreciate everything you do, my friend.
Well, thank you. The check is in the mail.
It's on the Venmo. It's on the Venmo.
I usually have them at the end of the meeting, but it came in. I felt wasn't going well, so I dropped. I hit Steve's thing. All right, Steve, come on in. So anyone else have anything they want to say? I just riff, bro. I don't know. I've been under the influence of things for a long time. And then you can't get the pureness of it, but you can riff and see, how something responds to the drop of water. Yes. Yeah. And then by doing that, you sing the glory of the drop of water, I feel. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And we had other people. Are they still there? Kathleen? Anyone else with a question? No? Yes, I see Kathleen saying yes.
I didn't have a question, but
Keep it simple and have Eric just start talking.
Oh, Eric Vista. Oh, I was wondering. All right, Eric, what's up?
I just thought I'd share this experience. Talking about reverberation. This was rather nice. For a couple of weeks, I don't know exactly the time frame, but I picked up this book about. I saw this guy on YouTube talking about. He's very intelligent. He had like these technical videos, but he wrote a book about the autistic spectrum, being on the spectrum, and he talked about that some in some other video, and I listened to this stuff and I thought, oh, wow, that sounds like me, like these characteristics. And so I read his book, and again, I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. It's
Well, it sounds like not you, Eric. Remember that.
yeah, well, that's the thing. So after a couple of weeks of this, and the clarity or thinking about the past, or people that had been in relationships with who were on the spectrum or a client, they fit that pattern. A couple of weeks of that, I noticed that uh, like the I'd sort of lost the peace that I had felt before. It's like things made sense, but it wasn't giving me any peace. It was like all these fragments floating around, and like what do I grab onto? Um, and I picked up this other book, and he was talking about. I think the name of it was the title was something like "Fuck It," but his main point was that we give all the meaning, just like you're always saying. We give things all the meaning it has, and that triggered something. I went and listened to your satsang from Tuesday night, and everything just kind of loosened up. That resonated, um, where I could then, because I had this clue that the problem, so to speak, was that there was a me or a my who with these qualities, and it's like implicit in all that study. There's this person, this figure, this me, this my that has all these qualities in this history, and that was it. It was like the the game was up, and so listening to satsang, resonating, and it just all. I guess my point is that even if there's some truth to these psychological diagnoses, they really need to be held very lightly, uh,
Yeah.
not by the person, but um,
Just held lightly, period. Yes.
yeah, and it was just no longer a problem. I don't know what to say. It was like it's just so what these things fit, but
Yes.
to who? Why? What
Well,
you know
there's
what I'm
how
saying?
you see. See, there's a standardized presentation of its value, and then you got a new kind of value out of it by seeing you're not that who has those qualities. Those qualities are those qualities, but they're not yours. Hallelujah. That's the whole point. Yes.
Yeah,
If you read that thing, we've used it many, many times because I thought it was a really good instruction where Ramana Maharshi was talking about the predetermination and free will. And after this whole thing, he says the only value these questions have is really basically to point to who's asking the question or whatever. Yeah. So instead of starting from the question and going forward, you just step back, you turn around, step back, and ask who is it that wants to know if there's predetermination or free will. Yeah. Because it's sort of like a wild goose hunt. It's just trying to get the attention and interest to go where it wants it to go, when naturally it would just like to fall back into its nature, which is the no-thingness. Yeah. So instead of trying to go ahead because it's going to have you going forever, trying to get somewhere, you fall back and you're here. Yeah. And then if it appears and you ask it, who am I? Now you've brought both of the aspects out. So one aspect is asking the question, who am I? And the other one is expecting to answer. Both of them are not you. So self-inquiry gets two aspects you very rarely see in the same room, into the same room, in the same sentence. So who am I is an asking from somewhere, and what's going to respond is the one that's asked. And at that moment, seeing both of them, there's none of them. And then, like they say in Zen, you'll see your original face, which isn't a face. Yes. Yeah. See, you're waiting to recognize something. You're in it already. You're not gonna, yeah. It's not, you're not gonna approach it and then meet it. That's done. If it ever happened, it was done a long, long time ago. You are it. You are it. And every movement to become it or find it or get it or not get it is not it. It's it, obviously, but it's not it as a movement. That's all. So, yeah. And you just keep going back to that same answer. Yeah. Which is who wants to know or who cares or whatever. Yeah. And the thing is, in this world, the Course in Miracles is where I heard that you and I give everything all the meaning it has. And when I did those lessons, I got a lot of free samples because I would be looking at something and I was just looking at, and then the name would come up. So it explained exactly what I was saying in the lesson. You and I give everything all the meaning it has. So I'm looking at something, I saw it with absolutely no meaning, and then suddenly the meaning that I'd given it appeared, and it would work. It did it all every time I tried it. So I sort of got it in that way. But I'm very interested in when head goes over a boundary and calls something name and form. Then it can have a life of its own, really. And so when these things are done and things are named, yes, named and form, they take on a life. Yeah. And I feel it's much easier to travel through everything before the name and form. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen people who they look pretty good and then they hear they have cancer and they look terrible, but they had cancer when I saw them and they look good. But then they heard they had cancer, and that name produces a lot of form, and there it was. Yes, and then I was with them, and their whole life became about cancer. That's why people who know someone who is in cancer, they have groups to support them because almost every other topic, every time you would meet a person, they would be talking about cancer. And it's dangerous, yeah, in a lot of ways because we're giving name and form to things. Yes. I humbly believe maybe everyone in this room has had a terminal thing move through us and leave. Yeah. And if we would have stopped it like a policeman and gave it name and form, that thing may have killed us in a way. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of possibilities flowing around all the time. And I would be careful about giving any of it name and form. Literally. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's so true.
yeah. So, and this is what it almost solidifies something. Yes. And then, you know, what we names us in a way. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
If you're interested in something, uh, and you could explore it, look at the Wheel of Life. It's a Tibetan tool, the Wheel of Life. And it's an illustration. And it's this thing called Yama, which is the god of death. Yeah. And he's holding this wheel. And in this wheel, there's all this information. Yeah. It's sort of like what happens, man this consciousness occurs, then uh, name and form is given, then that's like an arrow in the eye. And then in the middle of it, in the hub, it usually has three animals. And one's a pig, I think. One's what else? It's a pig, I think a rooster and something else. But they represent greed, malice, and I think envy. Yeah. And these are the winds that blow this whole wheel of life. Yes. These things come through us, and obviously everyone believes that person's greedy or envious or malice. But the malice disguises itself by blowing through us. And so there's this whole activity going on. It's quite interesting if you check it out. And then earlier than this, in Hinayana Buddhism, they have something called dependent origination. And it's only got like 11 steps. And basically, you could see it forever or you could see it in the moment. It's the same thing. So it has the contact, the conscious contact triggers this, this, and this, and so it goes. And then there's the arising of self, or this idea of you. Yeah. And it could be seen as an epic or each second. So their view was this idea of the selfing resurrects this idea of self every moment. So the selfing's there, the self that's thinking, it's hearing the self, doing it arises, and this whole origination, it drops and does it again, over and over and over again. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. I don't recommend it, but it's interesting stuff. I was introduced to it and years ago, and I like the idea that there's winds blowing, because I think there's other winds blowing, like gratitude and honor and love, if you want to call it that. I would say compassion and stuff. And basically, you're like a sail, and you're going to be moved by whatever winds are blowing you. Yeah. And in recovery, we have two options in their view, and that is you're either going to be blown by the winds of the infinite or by the finite self. Yeah. And when the finite self takes a breath, it's a breath of yours. It's not its. Yes. So it's using your breath to drive you to where it wants to go. Yes. So interesting stuff. I like imagery and the wheel of life. And by the way, we have shirts on the other, no, the wheel of life is, I just really like the imagery. So check it out if you want. It also has 6 realms, hell, animal realm. You don't have to go there. Yeah. Because see, I don't believe in reincarnation because I don't believe in incarnation. I do not believe there is a real person. I don't. I just don't believe it. Yeah. So everyone has all these problems with, oh, what am I going to reincarnate, or what's my next reincarnation? I don't think you incarnated. This is the way to imply you're incarnated by worrying about reincarnation. Wait a minute, bro. You never have been incarnate to begin with. Why are you worrying about reincarnation? Because that's the head. That's what it does. It worries about something else to imply something you don't see. Yes. Yes. So, all right. Anyone else? We got from D1 to everyone? Yes. Oh, that's nice. Anyone else?
No other hands that I can see, Paul. Shannon, do you see anything that I'm not seeing?
Don't look too hard. Let's see.
No, I didn't see much.
No other hands. All right. Well, let's say goodbye. We have a live audience today, and yeah, we're going to have a lovely food. We had a chef fly in from Germany. He made us a great lentil sausage thing. So there may be leftover for Saturday. So if you come live, you may get some of the lentil soup. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye. Eric Vista, nice to see you, Eric. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're good at riffing. For me, it's writing. So I'd rather hear you riff than me.
Riff, right.
Right, riff.
Left,
Tomato,
right,
tomato.
right, left, who knows? Yeah. All right, David, my friend down under. Nice to see you, David. I'm very happy how things are going with you. Yes?
Yeah, it's just all soaking in, Paul. You said that to me a few weeks ago. It's just let that soak in. It's nice. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Just, stay in that tub. Not things like the Epsom salts. Yeah.
I don't even have to have the bubbles on anymore. I've turned the
I
spa on.
know you don't need the bubbles. Go simple. Right. Throw in the salt, lay in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
All right. Good to see you, Dave. Kathleen, as always. Pleasure to see Kathleen. And right next to Kathleen was Bob, that was in the Jersey Cellar event we had. We didn't have, they had it. We were guests. Kathleen, as always, Bob. Say hello to Charlie, Kathleen. Yeah, yeah. Bob from Jersey. Hey, come. It's nice to see you. Yeah. Get in the tub yourself. Just soak. It's good. Soak in satsang. Shannon Corkery. Yes, there she